Hi, I'm Tyler McCreary, and this is my project, Dungeons and Dumbbells. Dungeons and Dumbbells is an exercise app aiming to reduce childhood obesity. In this app, parents and kids work out together. This gives kids the access to a device while allowing parents to also hold their kids accountable during workouts. It offers a competitive and cooperative game mode. The competitive one is not implemented because it was not part of the scope for this project. The cooperative game mode is meant to appeal to parents and children who don't really want to compete against each other, but still want to work out using the app. This is my project plan. As you'll see, almost everything was complete. The last two things in the table were the only things that were incomplete. This was partially due to other things taking more time than expected. And then also you'll see that I accounted for a full sprint 10, not realizing that sprint 10 was mainly just for putting together deliverables and is shorter than the other sprints. I implemented a home screen that has a play button. This allows you to continue and select your equipment as well as what players should be involved and play the game. It does not include the workout logs or the view where you can see how you've progressed over time. I've also implemented a screen for selecting the workout type, which is the competitive or cooperative, a screen for selecting the equipment, which we'll see later, and a screen for creating and selecting users to join the game. There's also the ability to save equipment to the device and save the users that have played before. This enables the app to remember what you've selected in previous games. So if you close the app and reopen it, you'll still have the same equipment selected, and you'll have the previous players to choose from to join the game without having to re-enter everything. I've also created a story example, and I've implemented the entire game flow. So here are the steps that I would need to deploy a final product. I would need to create a Google Cloud account. I could use the identity APIs to track users as well as let them save their progress, their workout logs, everything with that user ID. I believe the Google Cloud Identity API is HIPAA compliant. And then I would also want to set up a Firebase database for the story examples. So right now I just have one story example that's in a JSON file within the app, but instead I could just fetch many different examples and let the player choose what they want to do. And then to get to actually deploy the app, I would need to set up an iOS developer account, and if I'm doing Android as well, set up a Google Play Store developer account, and then apply for the app to go on each app store. When I started making this app, the goal of the project was to reduce childhood obesity. In the US, in between 2017 and 2018, the rate of obesity amongst 2 and 19-year-olds was almost 20%. While doing research, I also found that there's sufficient evidence to show that mobile technology increases self-regulation, which translates to healthy behaviors promoting weight loss. It's pretty common that a lot of kids do not have access to smart devices. I don't have research on that, so that is a gap. Since many kids don't have access to smart devices, I thought of what other options are there to give them access. I found that working out with a partner increases motivation. Because of this and the lack of access to devices, I decided the app would be for parents and kids to work out together. When researching, I was also trying to find what motivates people in workouts and what correlates with better outcomes for workout programs. I did find that tailoring program content, settings, and mode of delivery can drive outcomes of effective weight loss and program retention. This led me to tailor the app more towards children and parents working together, rather than making it for just anyone that wants to work out with multiple people. I also, to make it more fun for the children and parents, I made it an interactive story where during the workout the user can select what options they want to choose to make the story branch in different ways and be more interactive. Here are my references. Okay, this is the local setup portion of my presentation. As you can see on the left, I have the repository open with the README at the bottom with all the instructions here that you can follow. I also have a terminal open and an iPhone 13 simulator open. These instructions are for Mac OS. I haven't had a chance to try it on Windows, and it's also for using it on an iOS simulator. I haven't been able to do it with Android Studio because it slows down my computer quite a bit. So with these instructions, I already have a lot of it installed, but I included instructions for here installing Git and Homebrew. So you can download Git right here on this link, and then Homebrew, here's some directions at this link, but you can also use this command. And then after you have those, you can use Homebrew to install Node, which I also have. I can check the version. I have version 16 of Node installed. And then you'll also need Watchman installed, which you can use Homebrew for as well. After you have those, make sure you have Xcode, which you can get from the Mac store. And the command line tools, you can follow these directions to get as well. And then you'll also need to install an iOS simulator, which most of them come with Xcode. You should be able to just go into Xcode itself if you need to, and select a simulator from there. Once you have that installed, you'll also need CocoaPods, which you can install with this gem command. So after all of that is installed, you can use the git clone command to get the repository. And that'll download the project. After that, you should have a Dungeons and Dumbells folder. So you can use the cd command to change that directory. And then once you're in that, you can use this npm install. I also have Yarn, which is just another package manager. I'm going to use that for this purpose because Yarn usually seems to be faster. So it's going to fetch all the packages, install them, and get the project ready. Okay, now that that's all fetched and loaded, we can go into, you'll see there's a iOS folder here. We'll need to go into that. So once again, change to that directory. And we need to install the CocoaPods. So we'll use the pod install command. Alright, now that the CocoaPods are installed, we can change back to the root directory. So we'll just do cd ... Oops. And now we're back in the Dungeons and Dumbells folder. And from here, you can use npm run iOS. You can also use yarn run iOS, whatever you prefer. And from there, it's going to build the project and install it onto your simulator. Make sure you do have a simulator open though, because if there isn't one, it may just give you an error. So I stopped recording because it was taking a long time to build. That'll happen especially the first time you build the project. Anyway, once it builds, it'll open up this Metro terminal, and that'll also launch the app onto the simulator. But yeah, and then the app will be open and then you can start using it. Okay, this is the solution demonstration portion of my presentation. You'll be greeted by this home screen, which just has the option to select new game. You can choose between cooperative and competitive, although competitive is not implemented, so you really just have one choice at the moment. When you get to workout equipment, since you're a new user, you will see that nothing is selected, and just select whichever ones apply to you, and then you can click continue. Also, you'll see kind of warnings for React Native throughout this project. That's just something that's going to happen with the local setup. So after choosing the equipment, you'll go to the player screen where you can add and select players. So I'll add a player for myself. And I will add another one, say player 2. You'll notice that once you have 4 players already selected for the game, you can't add new players, although you can toggle a player that's in the game to not being in the game, and add player will show up again if you want. You don't have to have 4 players, you can have anywhere from 1 to 4, but I will go with 4 for this, and then I will click continue. Now it started a game. You'll see the start of a story. Each story element has players that it applies to. So right now it applies to the whole team. So I'll continue through the story, and eventually it'll give me an option to choose a branch within the story. So I can say we enter this forest together, or we decide to spread out. Either way, since we have all 4 players that it's being applied to, everyone will get an exercise to do. Now, let's pretend I exercised and I did certain amounts of each one, or each player did certain amounts of each one. We'll enter each one of those in, and then we'll click continue. Once you hit continue, it'll calculate whether you succeeded or failed in your effort, and the story will branch in a different way depending on that. So if I can click continue, it'll be randomizing, and then it'll say you continue into the forest. Okay, so as I continue and we keep going, so this is a case where only I, Tyler, the first player, gets to make a choice, and since I'm the one making the choice, I will be doing the exercise. So I'll say freeze spell, say I have to do high jumps. I'm going to say I did 10 of them. Even though I did 10, there is a chance that I fail because there is randomization going on. Same thing if I do 0, I can possibly succeed, although your chances are way better if you do all 10 and way worse if you do 0. So I'll click continue. Alright, and that was a success case, and it continues with the story. So as you keep going through, you'll just keep running into these until you finally reach the end of the story. Rather than going through the whole thing, because it is just kind of repetitive, I will click X and leave the game. So I'm also going to close the app and reopen it. So this will show you that when I go back and I go back to selecting my equipment, it remembers what I selected before. You can still make adjustments, but it's nice to just have that saved. And then it doesn't select the players, but it remembers them, so you can select them for another game, whoever you want to play. Future work that still needs to be done is implement views for workout history and tracking user progress over time. Another thing is implementing a competitive mode. I gave options for choosing competitive or cooperative, but competitive is not implemented yet. I would also add an AI for adjusting difficulty in both game modes. So for competitive mode, if 2 people aren't really equivalent in working out, maybe someone can do more push-ups than someone else, the AI algorithms could fluctuate how many each person has to do so that it's more even in the game mode, while still giving each person a challenging workout. For the cooperative game mode, this means changing the amounts of successes and failures based on the entire workout rather than just how a player does on a specific challenge itself. I would also do more user research on how many parents and children would actually use this for working out and what game modes they would prefer, and more information on that. And then general user testing to improve the app as far as UI, UX, and what features it has, and what features wouldn't be used. And that's my presentation. Thank you.